On today's Minute of the Apes, shit gets dark.
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape! Exercise with an ape maker, human down. It talks. You're the keepers of the divine bound. It is our only reason for survival. We are determined to know what the apes want, war or peace. The only good human is a dead human!
Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, the daily podcast where we break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes movies, 1 minute at a time. I'm Todd.
I'm Sean. It's Monday.
Who are
and
you?
that's Richard.
Oh, I'm Richard. Here I am.
Dude, I know you're distracted.
He's deep into the script, yeah.
I'm kind of rereading the minute.
Yeah.
We're about to play it again so I can hear it, but I'm just kind of rereading it.
Yeah, that's our friend Richard. He's down there. He's just prepping for it. Well, because he's prepping, Sean, why don't you tell us what's going on with this minute?
All right, we start minute 81 with Dixon saying, "To the southeast," and ends with Cornelius asking to give them the opportunity to kill themselves.
Let's listen to this very dark moment from Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
To the southeast, it's a kind of graveyard for old ships that have become unseaworthy. I used to play there as a kid. Anyway, there's a derelict tanker at one end, and you could hide there for a week.
A week? Until the commotion dies down a bit, and we can smuggle you back to the circus.
And then, as Armando says, you can travel with them to Florida, found your own colony in the Everglades, and live happily ever after.
Mama. Mama. Mama.
It's time that you were moving on.
Louis,
Yes?
if they find us, we shall be killed.
Ultimately.
Then, give us the opportunity to kill ourselves.
As of minute 81, we have a planet for the humans plus 2 living smart apes and 1 dead ape. And Heloise, and what's Heloise's baby's name?
I don't think we know the baby. Oh, we do know the baby's name. It's
Salome.
Salome.
That's right.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Salome.
Salome.
That's a very biblical name.
Salome. It sounds like a facial cream to get rid of wrinkles.
By the way, my
Hashtag
advertisement for the
Salome,
week
or the
is
company
that
that sells them.
Captain Crunch is still the best cereal. I just want to let everybody know.
Salome-
Todd is now eating Captain Crunch.
Captain.
Captain Crunch.
By the way, Salome was the daughter of Herod II and Herodias. According to the New Testament, the stepdaughter of Herod Antipas demanded and received the head of John the Baptist.
All right, there's
Salome
another
is the
thing.
one that wanted John the Baptist's head on a silver platter and got it.
Well, what does that mean for the story here?
Seriously, no doubt.
Well, I
Read
mean,
into
we
that
think
for me.
there's going to be a sacrifice at some point.
But it's the baby
Salome
wanted-
might be the sacrifice instead.
That baby's
Do you think
evil.
that was intentional then?
No.
To do a biblical name, yeah.
Probably
Yes,
because
but not the connotation of what it means. They just went with the biblical name. It was pretty. Because that baby, baby's not bringing anybody's head on a silver plate.
And not requesting it, yeah.
Well, but I mean, for the fact that he would bring up the painting of animals as well as a token that you would imagine that Heloise and Salome would be relevant somehow,
Maybe.
other than just like sounding, phonetically pretty.
So Dixon tells them that the commotion will die down in a week.
Yeah, that's pretty ambitious to think that.
I used to-
Something as big as these fucking apes, and that's going to die down in a week?
There's something weird about Lewis saying, "I used to play there when I was a kid."
In the oil derricks.
There's a
And
sawn
the
off.
ships,
There's
yeah.
a sawn off derelict at the ship at the end where you could hide for a week. And Zero's like, a week until the commotion's died down a bit, and you can come for you, and we'll smuggle you back into the circus. All right, so now we're getting a little more to the plan. So Armando says you can't stay here. In a week and a half, we're going to go to Florida. And Lewis adds to the fact that if you can just hide for a week, we can get you back to Armando. So there's a little bit of optimism in this moment as it starts out. Like this idea, like, we just need you to be someplace they won't find you. We can't do it because we know we'll find you. if you guys can camp somewhere where they won't find you. And this actually is not a bad place to hide. You said there'd be a lot of activity.
There would be somebody monitoring these things.
The oil derricks,
but we don't have cameras at this point. We don't have anything. I mean,
but you'd still have people walking
guards
around.
walking around.
But fine, it's a unique area to put somebody. It's
to hide for a week,
especially an ape.
It's not in the woods where they're just going to comb the woods.
But yeah, that's
right.
Also
And Dixon already knows that Hassline is looking for places with monkeys. He's not going to look at a derelict oil field.
But let's also remember the plan is, all right, hide out for a week, then we'll take you back to Armando, and then you get to go out into the Everglades. So it's not like this plan is that great to begin with, because you still have a shitty ending to it. You got to go hide in the forest. Just live in the shipyard at this point.
So now that we're watching this on Blu-ray, DVD, streaming, and we're not watching it on
film,
the
theater, no pausing.
You have to admit the opening sequence, the title sequence the menu where you move into it.
Now I know
dials
where we are.
in so much of what important this moment is. Like, here's the moment.
That's very equivalent. Like if the Star Wars menu, you put it on and the first thing you see is the Death Star exploding. You're like, all right, don't show me the end of the movie in the actual menu scenes of the DVD.
So why would they do that in the menu scenes? Why would they think that this is relevant? I mean, even some level, if they did like some crazy shot of Zero holding a baby,
hell, it should have been a reveal. It should have been the
three apenauts on the beach.
Ship on the beach with people around them. Just
would have been the very first moments.
The very first moments would have been fantastic. I mean, I'm kind of pissed on some level when you think about this menu scene, how much it's actually
a bit giveaway,
showing off. Like, oh, wait a minute, we're moving to a final act here.
Yeah, I have not put in 4 or 5 yet, so I don't know what their menus are like. But I'm wondering what. I
haven't looked at their menu.
Like.
Well, since I watch it streaming before I leave today, can we put 4 in just because I want to see what images is on it?
And I want to show you to get off track. I want to show you the Star Wars Darth Vader VR thing. You haven't seen that. Anyway.
Okay, so if this had those moments though that we kind of alluded to, where we actually acknowledged the baby swap, that there was a tighter time constraint, I think the tension's amped up even more because all they have to do is survive for an hour. Now, what I also think when I hear this, it'll die down in a week, is though Hassline's just going to quit.
Yeah.
Hassline's not ever going to quit. Then he's going to be saying, we didn't find it. They must have gotten out somehow. I want you to pull
he won't be able to keep the LA police involved blocking every city road.
But he's still got the military that he can use.
Do you think this president is going to go along with that for more than a week?
If the only 2 intelligent apes that we've ever seen that supposedly have come from the future have disappeared, yes, people are going to be searching for them forever. It will never stop. It will go on for 100 years, and that'll be the point where, we're not trying to find them now. We're trying to find their bodies so that we can examine that. It would never end.
So we joke about the fact that their nighttime is just kind of blown up backgrounds. At least the actors in this particular moment are kind of lit well.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're not crazy shadows casting everywhere.
It's more the unmotivated lighting.
Right. There's still lighting in the background to kind of light up the set around it, but at least the actors themselves are lit well. So we're basically coming to this moment where Dixon basically says, Armando said you can travel with him to Florida, find a colony in the Everglades, and live happily ever after. And then we kind of cut to a scene where we have a pan over to a moment with Zira basically rocking the baby going, Mama, which she no longer needs to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Because technically
But then again, she was doing it to that same baby before.
She's maintaining the illusion for the movie-watching audience, not that it needs to be done. Because she's not trying to fool Dixon and Branton.
No, but what I was saying, she was already to Heloise's baby, already saying mama before when she's practicing, and maybe now she's just having
the maternal instincts.
The maternal thing that she's left her baby behind, so she's trying with this baby. But it's silly.
Yeah.
And plus, having a child, my kid didn't speak until I think 10 and a half, 11 months, right before a year. They usually speak around a year. Abby started just a little bit early with a few words. Mm-hmm. This baby's been out of the womb for 10 hours.
Yeah.
That ain't, no. And also, I know I talked about that. I looked up how animals handle labor. I wonder about apes, how quickly they can get back up. Because when Shelley had that baby, she's in bed for a couple days resting. I would assume, though, because of the predatory
They
type
have
things,
to carry
they
them
might
and
have to get up and be able to be ready
These
to go.
are advanced mutant apes from the future.
They're more human, Richard. Therefore, they would have even more human characteristics.
Human might not necessarily be the right way to call them. They're mutant apes. They might not necessarily be humans. They can talk. That doesn't make them human-like.
They're mutant apes. Is Charles Xavier involved in this?
Yes.
I
yes.
hope so. I really do.
To me, my ape men.
Here we go. Great apes typically give birth at night, and although complications can occur, the delivery often occurs over a period of a few hours or less without assistance from group members, with the mother taking care of the process. Videotape studies of great apes during labor have suggested they do not grimace a great deal and do not vocalize in pain unless there is a complication of some sign. In striking contrast, human labor can go on for many hours or days, especially with the first child, and typically requires assistance from group members in order to have a successful outcome.
Did we talk about this last week with
A little bit
giraffes?
about how they're.
I touched on it a little bit.
About how animals have babies in the wild.
And they don't make noise afterwards. And they just go,
It's
okay,
like get
cool.
to work. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's back to being like a soldier or I'm losing it here.
So we talked about Sean teased how dark this minute is. Does just prior to Cornelius's, hey, give me
us
a
a
gun
gun.
so I can office.
Yeah.
Does Dixon already kind of know how doomed they are? Because he has a couple of looks, and I can't exactly say where they are, but when I was watching, I thought, does he know that they're going to die and never
Well,
come
yeah,
back?
Well, he
because
says ultimately, he goes, if they find it, Cornelius says, if they find us, we shall be killed. What's
And
interesting
yeah,
is,
when he says,
what's interesting is Dane put it as a question mark, quote, question mark, but the way Roddy reads it, Cornelius reads it, it's a statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he changed this. If they find us, we shall be killed, question mark, and Dixon is supposed to reply ultimately. But Cornelius says, we shall be killed, period. He was very, it was a very interpretive moment with Roddy saying, we shall be killed.
But yeah, the ultimately really makes it very sinister because that means they're not going to be killed when they're found. That means they're going to be captured, studied, contained, and then eventually, yeah, they'll be killed, but it won't be right away. You're going to be studied for a long time.
So do we see the handing of the gun in this minute?
No.
Okay. Because when it gets to that even made me, I'm sitting there like, what is all about Dixon? I kind of don't get, I know why he needs to have the information and why he would be worried about it, but there's something about his handling of it that just seems like he's already ready to write them off.
Well, Dixon already did the Harry and the Hendersons of, well, it's ultimately time for you to get moving on. Go on. Shoo. Nobody likes you. Leave. Go. I don't love you.
So Lewis says, and the script is with unwilling honesty. And you do see Lewis think for a second and have to go ultimately. And what was nice about Roddy is Roddy does the thing where he's looking at Lewis because we go back to a tight on Roddy. Roddy looks at Dr. Dixon and then he looks to the right of where it would be like off to the side as if he's thinking for a moment. And then he pulls back, then give us the opportunity to kill ourselves if that moment should come. And it's a very, very, very hard moment. We talk about all the things that have happened in this film,
You
but
think
there's
Zero might have something to say about that, carrying a baby with her, but all right.
but
Maybe they've already discussed it.
But that's just it. That's just it. I mean, Cornelius is already thinking this. I promise you, based upon Zira, she already knows the outcome because of what happened 2 minutes earlier.
See, and I think
She's already planned it out. She's already thought, I need a way for Milo to live because I know that I may not. And she's already resigned herself. And this moment, Cornelius is basically stating the obvious, which is not knowing how the movie ends.
Yeah.
Pretty fatal.
Yeah.
As an audience, you're watching this going, oh, shit, my characters may die. The whatever you thought about Hassline, whatever you thought about sterilization or what he was going to do, Cornelius says, we're not going to let that happen because we're going to take our lives before that happens.
Man, the more I think back on the whole baby swap, it is just all kinds of fucked up.
Because it's somebody else's baby that she's going to let die?
Yes,
murdered,
that's exactly it. They know they're about to go. She put the baby aside without anybody else apparently at this point knowing what she's done. She's taken this child. She knows she's about to be gunned down and they're going to off themselves. What are you thinking that if you off yourself and you don't kill the baby, do you think that Haslam's not going to dissect it? No, he's going to take that baby
He's
and
going to
cut it
figure out
up.
it's a normal baby.
You are dooming Salome to die. Man.
What would actually be more interesting is if she planned on them keeping Salome and not killing her, and then